Marvel Comics has been on a mission for the last few years to just destroy Spider-Man. Peter Parker's life is a wreck, and they just seem perfectly happy to keep soldiering on. After the absolute carnage that Zeb Wells did with Spider-Man, which literally made so many fans just walk away, they followed it up with 8 Deaths as Spider-Man, which is an absolute train wreck in of itself. But now, Marvel Comics has a new agenda that they're going to do when it comes to Spider-Man. Reboot it to another number one. Because why go through the trouble of actually improving anything when you could just do some bold-faced cash grab? Well, Chuck Dixon is calling them out on that, and rightfully so. Dive into this article here from Fandom Pulse. Legendary comic writer Chuck Dixon blasts Marvel Comics rebooting Amazing Spider-Man with another number one issue as a cynical cash grab. That's exactly what it is. One of the tells of a problem in sales and fan reactions for a title in the modern comic industry is to reboot with an all-new number one issue. Marvel Comics announced Amazing Spider-Man will be getting another reboot in 2025, which comics legend Chuck Dixon has called a cynical cash grab, because that's what it is. That's what it is. They do the same thing with Captain Marvel and Ms. Marvel and whoever other Marvel wasted time all the time. Reboot it to a number one. The collectors will go and buy it because they want that one. They want that number one, and then the sales just die. But when it comes to this, I don't even think they might get any kind of sales anyway with the kind of damage that they've done. It's that bad. It seemed like 2024 was the year of the desperate reboot for Marvel and DC Comics. Marvel had its relaunch of the entire X-Men line after sales had stagnated from the Krakoan era, while DC did a line-wide reboot again for their DC All-In initiative. Some of the books in DC's New All-In are not bad, but the majority of them no. Both companies claim success and used the artificial temporary sales boost from books like Absolute Batman #1 and Uncanny X-Men #1 to claim that sales in the comic industry had recovered from their slump. Now, Absolute Batman is selling a lot. It's really selling all that. Yes. I don't think it's enough to rebound DC to any kind of thing at all. And as for Uncanny X-Men, #1 was okay. #2 was just kind of fell off at that point. So I really don't think that's anything to be celebrating either. These numbers are not just artificial because of the collector's nature of the #1 issue, but with such issues, the companies offer dozens of variant covers. Oh God, yes. Dozens of variant covers. It had one fantastic, I think, not one, it had at a time a Fantastic Four book has done like about 70 different variant covers. Tell you how bad it is. Which they only do for milestone issue numbers like this. Some of these require hundreds of orders for basic cover just to get access to these covers, creating a sales bubble of speculation with a lot of unread books. Even for normal books, Fandom Pulse comic retailer insiders, I told them that they believe only about 30% of people who buy the books actually read them. But with these issues, it's far less. Yes, so only about 30% of people who buy the books actually read it. I have actually met people who say that they only buy comics just for the covers. They don't read it, which I find is ludicrous and insane. You understand me? But even that, people aren't buying it. This is why so many comic shops keep closing down. They're putting out any content to bring people in. That's the big thing. Even though one might get a temporary sales boost, like with Absolute Batman #1, which is reported to have moved over 400,000 copies, Data has shown that every time these reboots occur, the actual readership declines by the sixth or seventh issue, which is true, does happen. It hasn't stopped Marvel Comics from trying it again with Amazing Spider-Man. After Zeb Wells' disastrous run, oh God, was that a terrible thing, which turned many readers off of the character forever. They didn't move for a reboot and number one issue right away. They hired Justina Ireland, this is her here, a race grifter who's gotten herself embedded with Disney Marvel to write a brief stint before choosing a long-term writer. But Justina Ireland, and this is just, oh God, eh, eh. Marvel Comics announced that Joe Kelly would be returning to Amazing Spider-Man for a new reboot in April 2025. Some of Joe Kelly work as Spider-Man wasn't bad, but some of it is not really fantastic, honestly. Oddly, they are keeping half of the current creative team of John Romita Jr. in place, making this not much of a reboot at all, lending credence to this merely being a publicity stunt to try to generate speculator sales with the numbering. Kelly himself told Polygon it wasn't a real new start for Spider-Man. Even though this is a new number one, I don't think of it as a restart per se. I'm writing the next chapter of the story of one of the world's greatest characters. Lucky enough to follow in the footsteps of the folks before me. After that sinks in, I spend a lot of time thinking about what I love about Spider-Man and his cast, what stories resonated with me at different times of my life, and how I can synthesize all of that into something that works with what came before but breaks new ground. I feel a drive to take bold, unexpected swings in order to see how Spider-Man deals with Marvel-sized curveballs. Pressure makes diamonds. Well, considering that the pressure Spider-Man has been under hasn't turned him into a diamond, it's just been crushing his life miserably. Perhaps all of you should realize it's time to get rid of all the nonsense that you've done. You want to talk about those who've come before you? Zeb Wells came before you just recently. Look at the damage he did, drove away fans. You started off with 8 Deaths of Spider-Man, and in issue 1, you ruined that book. You ruined the whole thing. You all are getting these managed from idiots who don't know anything and are telling you, listen, do this because. Oh, yeah, but fans have already started rumbling that they're sick of the constant reboots and mistreatment of characters like Spider-Man under the current regime. Yep. Chuck Dixon, the most prolific comic writer alive and legend who made characters like the Punisher and Moon Knight into staples for Marvel Comics, also has choice words to say about this tactic. Well, considering what they did to the Punisher and Moon Knight, I don't think they're gonna be listening to what Chuck has to say. But what he's saying is the God truth. This is what Marvel doesn't do anymore. They don't listen to people who know better. They don't listen to the fans. They listen only to themselves, and this is why they keep destroying everything. This is what Chuck Dixon had to say. This is nothing more than a cynical cash grab for those few comic book speculators gullible enough to fall for it. Yeah. It's not like anyone at Marvel seriously believes that this will be the beginning of a new 60-plus year run. You see, that's the problem. Marvel needs to bring in editors and writers who will stop and say, listen, we are going to make this the start of a brand new Marvel. We are going to get back to telling traditional stories with values, with action, make comics great again. And we have to have a plan for the next 100+ years. This is what we want to do. We want the fans to once again be invested in it and come back and love these things. But there is nobody there doing that. There is nobody there. The line editor for Amazing Spider-Man is an idiot who doesn't care, who berates fans who don't agree with him. The writers they keep hiring are told to are told to continuously make Peter Parker's life as miserable as possible. And this is what they keep doing. Dixon also said number one issues are all they have left to prop up their failed line. This is how legacies die. Very well said, Chuck. Meanwhile, Chuck Dixon is flexing his creative muscle to the new Kickstarter graphic novel called The French Baron. While Marvel continues the same old recycling of material, creators like Dixon are blowing the current mainstream market away with concepts like this. The project is described as a French crusader of royal blood gains his powers of immortality from an ancient prophet only to prompt death himself to come for him. Sounds interesting. The art on the French Baron also looks better than anything John Romita Jr. has done for years for Marvel Comics. Yeah, John Romita Jr.'s current artwork doesn't look good anymore. I mean, it's like you pretty much seen the guy has reached his peak and is just not doing it anymore. Showing that independent comics rely on good art and storytelling while the corporate only has gimmicks based on their brands. Yeah, so there is something. This whole we're going to reboot it to number one, and I think is not fooling anybody. It's not making anything good. It's not doing anything at all. Until they decide to make Spider-Man, Spider-Man, this is just another pathetic attempt to continue to do this nonsense, and nobody's falling for it. Literally, nobody is falling for it. You all are embarrassing yourself. You thoroughly embarrassed Spider-Man. You thoroughly embarrassed everything. And this is why nobody, and I mean nobody, wants this anymore. Spider-Man is your number one selling comic, your number one selling character at Marvel Comics, and you all have absolutely no respect, appreciation or gratitude for the character. This is why everything else is failing miserably. But this is what Marvel wants to do. Reboot another number one and figure, yeah, that's going to save them. Chuck Dixon is right. It's nothing more than a pathetic cash grab that's going nowhere. I shows you exactly how pathetic these people truly are. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. If you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. If you like it, make sure to hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell to be notified every time I put a new video. And I shall see you all next time. Take care.